Our next presenter is Hannah Picard. Hannah is homeschooled in the Knoxville area, and she is the daughter of Stacy and Joel Picard, and her title of her presentation is Adoptive Sports Teams for Children. Hannah.
I asked them on the way in if I should wave like I was on a float, and they said it was up to me, so I opted out. The title of my presentation is Odyssey Adaptive Sports, and again, I'm Hannah. Belgium was cut off from supplies during World War I, and its people were starving. Ready to help, Herbert Hoover gave up his career as a successful engineer and dedicated himself to aiding those in need. But perhaps more notable than his efforts to save the estimated 11 million Belgians was the way that he adapted his need to meet the needs of those he was trying to serve. Excuse me. When Belgian children en masse began to show signs of disease and fatigue, he provided a hot lunch in addition to the dinner he had already been providing and added cocoa to their diets. Just like Hoover adapted his Belgian relief to better meet the needs of those he was helping, I adapted my service project, Odyssey Adaptive Sports, to better meet the needs of the individuals I was trying to serve. When I first submitted my project, I had a very specific vision in my mind of what I wanted to provide. I wanted to organize adaptive swimming and track teams for local children with physical disabilities. I envisioned getting between 2 and 6 individuals who are interested in participating in weekly practices from local surrounding towns. The end goal of my project was to get these children both physically fit and to prepare them to compete in local meets if they wanted to. I was inspired to do this project by my youngest brother, Isaiah. Isaiah has spina bifida and has used a wheelchair for mobility his entire life. 4 years ago, Isaiah decided that he wanted to join our local swim team, even though he had never competed in any organized sports before. Isaiah's had enormous success in swimming and has actually competed in Adaptive Sports USA Junior Nationals twice. Both times, he's been the only swimmer from Iowa. Not only has swimming helped Isaiah remain physically active, it's also given him a confidence in his abilities as an athlete that many children with physical disabilities don't get. Kids with physical disabilities are often left sitting on the sidelines while their able-bodied peers participate in PE and organized athletics. As a result, many do not get the physical exercise that they need to remain healthy, and most feel that they don't have potential as athletes. This can add or compound to the self-esteem issues that they may already face because they feel different or ostracized from their peers. Excited to provide an opportunity for these children to get active in an environment where their disability was not the most important thing about them, I started working on organizing my teams, which would be the first sports teams in my area geared specifically towards kids with physical disabilities. I began by providing promotional materials for my teams, including this flyer. I distributed these materials to physical and occupational therapists in local clinics and schools, and I also distributed them to nonprofit organizations and to hospitals. I also contacted parents directly who I thought might be interested in this opportunity for their children. To prepare myself to coach the track team, I volunteered at a 3-day adaptive sports camp in northern Iowa, where I was able to learn and see how adaptive track is coached. As an experienced swimmer, lifeguard, swim instructor, and assistant coach for our local swim team, I already felt qualified in teaching swimming, but I also helped a local therapist with a pool therapy program to get more experience working with kids with physical disabilities. However, more than a month after distributing flyers and contacting families directly, I had yet to receive any people who were interested in participating in the project. I was initially discouraged because I felt like my project wasn't meeting the need that was expressed, but I began to realize that this was a need that was present. I just wasn't approaching it in the correct way. As Herbert Hoover said, wisdom consists not so much in knowing what to do in the ultimate as knowing what to do next. I decided that if my project was going to succeed, I was going to have to change the strategy that I was approaching it with. At about this time, a family from northern Iowa found out about my project and expressed interest in the idea of a swim team, but felt that they lived too far away to make the drive for regular practices. This is what gave me the idea of adapting my project from a regular practicing team to an intensive workshop for children across the state. Because I was doing a workshop, I decided that instead of focusing on 2 sports, I would want to focus on 1 exclusively. And because the family who is interested in the project said that they were interested in swimming alone, and because that was my area of expertise, I decided to focus my attention on swimming. In addition, there were already several adaptive track teams in Iowa that children could participate. Having decided to do a workshop instead of regular practices, I knew that I wanted to provide top-level coaching so that the children could get the most out of the experience. So I contacted Glenn O'Sullivan, a Paralympics coach from the Chicago area who's had more than 20 years of experience coaching adaptive swimming. He was excited about the project and eager to come and help, saying that there weren't many opportunities for children. He was glad to be of help. Because my organization was kind of a startup project, I wanted to brand it so that people would get a good impression the first time that they received materials. The first thing that I did was to create a name for my project, Odyssey Adaptive Sports. I also created this promotional logo that I could put on all my materials. I also designed this flyer and distributed it to local businesses, hospitals, the same as before, but I also created an email where parents could contact me directly and a Facebook page where I could not only share registration links with the families, but also share promotional materials to get more people involved. And my Facebook page actually had an audience of over 1,000 people that I reached. My next step was contacting corporations and businesses to get sponsorships. Most businesses I contacted were excited to help with this unique opportunity, and most local business owners already knew about Isaiah and his success with swimming, and were excited about helping with an opportunity to get more kids involved. So I was able to get a lot of different sponsors who were excited about the project, most of them locally, but I also received a corporate sponsorship from Thrivent Financial, which helped me cover all of the costs that were not covered by local businesses. Thanks to the donors and sponsors who supported my project, I was able to provide it completely free of cost to all of the participants. Besides lining up sponsorships to prepare for the workshop, I also had to find a facility that I could use for a 2-day workshop. I had to design t-shirts for the participants, plan a schedule, and secure food and lodging. As I was making these final preparations in the days leading up to my workshop, or in the weeks leading up to my workshop, I actually got an email from Glenn O'Sullivan saying that he had been last minute called to the Paralympics in Rio and was going to be unable to attend my workshop. He said that that was the only thing that could have possibly kept him from helping these children, but he felt that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that he couldn't pass up. I'm gonna admit it, I did panic for a little bit. I was like, oh no, my coach just left, but I contacted him and asked him if there was anyone that he knew that could come in his place. And he said that he had already organized a coach for me, his daughter Megan. He said that Megan had been coaching adaptive swimming for almost as many years as he had, and she felt confident that she would be not only qualified, but extremely helpful to the participating children. I also decided at this point that I wanted to have a clinic for parents and coaches so that they could learn more about adaptive swimming and take that information home with them. So I organized to have a clinic where they could not only ask Megan questions about adaptive swimming pertaining to their individual athletes, but learn a little bit more about the classification system and the rules of Paralympic swimming. So after months of planning, the actual event kicked off on Friday, September 9th with my clinic for coaches and parents. I had in all 7 adults attend who were interested in learning more about adaptive sports. Some of them were coaches, some of them were parents. The attendees were able to learn from Megan about how to help their athletes succeed in adaptive swimming. And while the adults were attending the clinic, I also had an ice cream social and a pool party for the athletes. The next day was spent providing one-on-one training to the 3 participating athletes and working on improving their swimming strokes. While I had planned extensive breaks throughout the day, it was actually pretty difficult to get them out of the pool because they were having so much fun. But we did manage to have a little bit of fun inside the pool and out. And they got to be very good friends by the end of the day. All of the swimmers improved their strokes a lot, but the highlight of the day was definitely Eli Horsemen, who swam all the way across the pool for the very first time in his life. His mother was so amazed and moved by this accomplishment that it brought her to tears. She later said that she had no idea that this was even going to be possible, let alone after one day of coaching. She was just absolutely blown away by the progress that he made in simply one day. When the event was over, I honestly felt exhausted and a little disappointed. I worried that I hadn't done enough to help the participants or that I hadn't provided them enough of an experience to get them involved in adaptive swimming. However, after the workshop was over, all of the athletes and their families contacted me to let me know how grateful they had been for the experience and how much they'd gotten out of it. Eli emailed me to say, "I had a lot of fun. It was hard work, but I learned a lot. I'm proud of what I accomplished, swimming all the way across the pool and back." I also wish that I had been able to get more participants to come into the workshop. However, when I talked to Mike Boone, Director of Adaptive Sports Iowa, about how the event had gone, he reassured me, if you have one person show up, that means the program was a success. To have 3 people is extremely successful. He let me know that programs like these tend to start small because they're drawing from a smaller pool of people and then grow. As I look back on the event now, I realized that I was able to provide an experience that these children would not have otherwise gotten, and I was able to increase their confidence both as athletes and to also give them the tools that they needed to succeed in swimming. I also now feel confident about the continuation of my project. Each of my participants plans on continuing working on their swimming locally, and we're currently working with a local team to organize a satellite virtual team that they can participate in. In addition, my family and I are excited about continuing to host swimming workshops for these and more athletes, and we are excited about the possibility of bringing other athletes to the Junior Nationals to compete with my brother Isaiah. Thank you.
Questions?
Hi, Hannah.
Hey.
What succession plans are there for a continuation of the teaching?
It's kind of going to be on a case-by-case basis. I think Glenn is really excited about the opportunity and would love to continue to come, well, not continue to come, he didn't come in the first place, but would like to have the opportunity to come back if he could. And I think Megan also came away from the experience feeling that it was a really positive one that she would like to continue to be involved in.
Could you say a little bit more about the virtual team? What exactly do you mean by that? It sounds really interesting. It's a way to get kids at a distance involved or keeping them involved. How does that work?
Kind of the idea right now is that they will be kind of satellite members of our local team, and that they can kind of submit times from local events to kind of an online database so that we can kind of compare the times and see if they get qualifying times for junior nationals in certain events. And then the end goal would also be to get them to come back to Knoxville, my hometown, at least once a year to participate in a local meet so that they could get sanctioned times for these events.
Might you include ways they could interact socially with the other swimmers?
That would be part of it as well. We're kind of trying to not only create a network where they can submit times, but also where they can encourage each other as athletes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.